I'm really trying to figure out what the hell to do with this thing here, this GMRS radio. Generally speaking, I would never buy a purpose-built GMRS radio. I would just unlock a ham radio. I don't like the 440 megahertz band. I don't have a 440 radio. I've got a 2-meter radio. What do I have? Technically, I guess I have a couple that do 2 meters. Like I have this one here, but I don't have anything just UHF. What I do know about GMRS is that usually a ham radio antenna doesn't work real well on it because it's so much further up in the band. But this thing's like literally brand new. I don't know what somebody was thinking, but they cut the cord. And I can probably restore it, but what I did was I just put a cord on it. It just needs a T connector. So when I got it, all that was on it was that. It did come with this nice Larson, Tram NMO mount. For those brave enough to cut a hole in their roof, this is what you need. And then you put your NMO antenna on there. I would personally never ever do that to a vehicle. These also can be mounted on a bracket, but they're designed to where there's a little rubber seal. You can drill the appropriate size hole in the roof, and you basically need a large bit. So in order to make that work, you need to drill a probably half-inch hole, shove that up through there, and then you screw this thing down and lock it down. And it's got a rubber seal on it. And hope to God that it never leaks. But I'm not a fan of these. If you have it on the outside of a truck on a bracket, like an L bracket or whatever, I think that's fine. But putting it right center in the middle of the roof is probably the best place for it. But I just don't like destroying a vehicle to do that. Now, one of my trucks actually already has 2 of them on the roof. There's a cap on one. And consequently, that truck actually leaks. I don't know if it's leaking from that spot, actually, but it leaks. When it rains, there's a little bit of water that comes in from the windshield on top of the headliner. But anyway, you'd have to be a madman to drill a hole in a perfectly good roof of a truck that you like. Or car. Anyway, this is a very strange microphone. It's based off of an ICOM microphone. Exactly the same as the ICOM microphone minus the button here. This is kind of an interesting radio, but it's kind of locked up. You can't do full power on all the bands because of the rules. It won't let you do certain things. It seems to be made by like TYT or Anytone, I would say. It's a nice radio, but I don't think that they're worth what they want for them. So, anyway, I had put it up for sale, I think for $100 on OfferUp. Nobody wants it. And so I'm like, well, what can I do with it? It basically is super obnoxious to listen to GMRS because what you end up listening to is a bunch of kids on their FRS walkie-talkies. And then a bunch of weird other things go on, and some of the local drug users like to use these things. Some strange stuff. There are a couple of repeaters and things like that. Also, another thing that's super annoying about this radio is the DCS tones. You need a chart to decode what they are. They have numbers that represent multiple tones. So the way that they've done it is let's say they put 50 codes in there, and each of those have 2 tones with them at the same time. So your 50 tones will actually cover 100 tones. And you have to go into the manual in the back and look up what's this tone going to be. And if you didn't know that, you might have a really hard time getting this thing to work. So here's the privacy codes. You have CTCSS tones and DCS tones. The DCS tones are a real problem with this. Code number 1 is code 23. And so they skipped the first 23 codes, basically. 23, 25. Skips a bunch. Goes up to 162. And then number 27 through 52 equals these ones. Number 53 through 78 equals those tones. I'm not exactly sure how they're having this thing set up. So actually, I guess there's only one tone for each number. They just don't cover all things. So you have 104 options, but instead of just using this actual code number to tell you what the DCS tone is, they're representing it with a 1 through 104. And then you need to know, well, code number 1 actually equals DCS 23. Number 2 is DCS 25. Number 3 is DCS 26. There's no rhyme or reason to these. Number 4 is 31. So to me, that's a very restricting thing on this, and it's absolutely stupid. So I would never voluntarily buy a radio that I knew operated that way. The good part about it is this came from the thrift store, and it was like new in the box, and it was like $14. So, yeah. I don't do GMRS. I do have a GMRS license. From what I have heard and experienced with people that do GMRS has been extremely negative. Some of the worst gatekeeping I have ever experienced in my entire life or ever heard. Some of the most immature behavior I've ever heard on a repeater. And never in my life have I heard so many highly intoxicated people on the radio. I don't know why anybody would want to get on GMRS. And then if you talk about certain things on GMRS, like, okay, I figured out how to get into one of the repeaters. I guessed what the PL tone was. Apparently that's like over their head. And I wasn't sure which repeater I was getting into. I didn't know if I was getting into... I can hear two repeaters at the same time on the same frequency. And I wasn't sure which one I was actually getting into. So I asked them what the PL tone was and what repeater used which one. And they got all nuts on me about it. And they're like, we don't talk about that on here. And you need to go to mygmrs.org and log in there and create an account. And then it'll tell you. It's like, because we have problems with people jamming us on here. Well, look, you stupid fuck. Don't you realize that anybody can go through all the tones on a Bofang and figure out what your fucking precious tone is? It's not that hard to fucking do. It might be hard to do on this radio, but it's not hard to do on a ham radio. And so they went through all this bullshit, and then I was like, wow, that's absolutely stupid. And then I guess this guy who claims to run the repeater threatened to kick my ass and all this other stuff, and told me, and just like out of the blue, he's like, you want to meet me in the parking lot? And I'm like, so what? So you can kick my ass? Great. That's pretty awesome, dude. And he has no idea who the hell he's even talking to. I mean, I could be like 6'4" and, 300 pounds and fucking trained, whatever. Or I could be some loose cannon nut job that's going to go meet him in the parking lot and end it for him. Why would you ever, ever, ever threaten somebody with violence on the radio? Seriously. Over a fucking PL tone? I never have in my life have ever heard any bullshit like that. And then he apologized to me after the fact and all this other stuff, and I was like, wow, okay, well, that's a good way to chase people off and keep new people out of the hobby. And so then later on, I was listening, and these guys were talking shit about me. They're like, you sure told that guy. That guy's never going to come back again. And I keyed up the radio. I was like, really? Because I'm right here listening. And then all of a sudden, the guy that was talking shit started backpedaling. Oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And it was some dude, I don't even know what the heck his name was, but he sounded like some drunk fucking trailer park fucking CB radio dude. And you all know the kind that I'm talking about, man. But he was like, oh yeah, that guy sure showed that guy, man. That guy's never coming back. I'm like, really? Because I'm sitting here listening. Oh, well, we were just kidding. Sure you were. So, and then I heard them, certain people would get on and they would give them a hard time. And they would jam them and do all sorts of stuff. And then there was other people. It was just so much drama and bullshit. It made like, CB radio and all the other stuff and 3845 and, 7200 seemed pretty tame. So I don't think anybody's on those repeaters anymore because they've basically their behavior pretty much ran everybody off. And I think the other thing too is they also couldn't link their repeaters anymore because they had multiple repeaters linked all over the place, and that's illegal to do on GMRS according to the rules, I guess, which I don't know why. But no, as far as I understand, it's not like this everywhere, and just certain places, but I couldn't believe it. So I don't know why anybody would ever want to own one of these radios. Why? Just get your fucking ham license and skip it. It's not fucking worth it. Get a ham radio and use it on GMRS if you want to use GMRS. If you really want to use their precious repeaters, pay the $35, get your license and use their repeater, whatever. But I've talked on GMRS maybe 3 times after that. There's just there's no point. Absolutely no point. There's not even anybody using the ham repeaters around here, hardly. Much less the local secret squirrel shit. And that's the other thing. All the GMRS repeaters, they're like secret squirrel. They're non-published, or you need to ask the owner for permission for the code and all this other crap. It's this is stupid. If you want something private, then go get a fucking business license and get a business fucking radio and have your private jerk-off club, I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, maybe I'm missing something here. And I'm sure that a bunch of snowflakes will leave some silly-ass comments in the comments here. But, anyway, one guy told me the funniest joke in the world about what GMRS stands for. If you think you know what the joke is about what GMRS stands for, leave it in the comments. Space it out carefully so it doesn't actually get you in trouble. But if you know what GMRS radio stands for in the comments, leave a comment down below. I'm not going to tell you, okay?